lost 12,500 in 3 months. Insurer basically pulled the plug. Back windows smashed in about 11 o'clock at night about 6 months ago. Spoke to a few witnesses and they're just like, yeah, lucky you haven't had your car stolen. And I was like, sorry?
How's it going, guys, and welcome back to the channel. We're in London and this is going to be all about what it's like to live in London with a Range Rover. So James, first of all, tell me what car you have. What is your model and why you bought it?
Sport P400 HST. Yeah, I mean, I bought it because it was, honestly, in my opinion, almost as good as the SVR. It was cheaper. It's almost as quick in real life.
Yeah.
Fuel's not ridiculous. In fact, it's like twice as economical.
Well,
and it does all of the same Range Rover-y stuff that I really wanted. Space, comfort, sort of wafting, bit of height so you can see over things.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, yeah, and honestly, it's been my absolute favourite car ever. And I can't imagine changing away from definitely this format, but also, as I think you mentioned before, just wedded to the brand, I think.
Yeah, and that's a huge statement from you, because you've owned James has owned a lot of cars. He's a true car head.
Nothing like this though.
What have you tell everybody what you've had, or just a brief?
A few Beamers.
Yeah.
And then M Beamers, M3, M4, etc. Had the M
CS,
lights
right?
before. Yeah, the M4 CS. That was great. And actually, looking back, that was my favourite sports car.
Right. I suppose, yeah, they're different cars. Yeah.
And then the last time I thought I wanted a bit more space, I bought an RS6, not the latest model, the one before C7.
What year? Oh yeah.
2065 plate.
Right.
I didn't have a fond experience of that at all. It definitely had some sort of niggling problem. It's just one of these. It was low mileage, but well priced. It was like perfect, like absolutely perfect. But it had all kinds of problems. I did everything I could to try and fix it. The garage just couldn't diagnose the problem.
I remember you saying that.
Spent some money on brake discs and pads, and it still did it. And in the end, I sold it at just the right time, where COVID had started to inflate the price of cars.
Yeah.
So I did lose on it, but not very much at all. I think less than the deposit I put in. So
Okay,
it was okay. You can't get away with that stuff anymore.
How long did you have it? A year, was it?
No, it was 6 months. Yeah, we did not get on. I did everything I could to make it better, and it just didn't play ball.
Play ball. So, how long have you had this particular car?
Year and a half.
Year and a half. And
Yeah.
how many miles have you done in this car?
5,000.
5,000 miles. But you don't tend to do loads of miles.
No, I do
In and around.
absolutely
In and around the city.
no miles.
Yeah. So, as you know, what's going on with the Range Rover market, well, actually a lot of people can't get insured on their Range Rovers, and theft is high. So, if you don't mind, if you're comfortable telling us how much your insurance was on this, and how much the renewal is, if you know, or when your renewal is.
I do. Okay, so
And has it gone up, basically?
when I bought this, the insurance would have been 3,500 a year, which is a lot. But
3.5 grand.
3.5 grand. But
living where you live in London.
living where we live in southwest London, it's just the cost. And other similar cars like X5s and I was about to say Porsche Cayenne, but actually they're a lot cheaper for whatever reason.
Okay.
But anyway, 3.5 grand. It was similar to my Mercedes. I knew it was a lot, but it was kind of the going rate for obviously an area of relatively high crime.
Yeah.
I owned it for a few months, and then my insurer basically pulled the plug, so they wouldn't give me any price for it at all. So I moved it onto a company fleet policy, and without that fleet policy, I'm not exactly sure what we would have done. I checked again recently to see what the scenario was, and they did give me a quote, like a telematics policy where they track your driving and put your premium up if you go 71 miles an hour or whatever.
Yeah.
But they would give me a quote, and it was 8 grand. So ridiculous. So 700 quid a month just to insure it.
At least they'd insure it. Some people would say 8 grand.
8 grand.
Was that last year or sorry this renewal?
That was recently, because you know, I keep checking just to see, because obviously on a fleet policy you're getting no claims and things like that, and I'm lucky to have that. But without that, I'd have to have a backup plan. So luckily, they would give me a quote, but it would just be horrendous. I mean, it's ludicrous.
If you didn't have the company policy and that was your quote, what would you do? I think that's an important question here.
I would have sold it, but for everything else that's going on.
Yeah.
So I've never been upside down in a car before. I always finance them, but I always put in a relatively decent deposit, and I also try and buy cars well.
Yeah.
I'm not an expert, but I've never gone really too far wrong. Like lose a bit, whatever.
Yeah.
But this time, for me to even hand the keys back, which is what I've always done on my PCP deals and ending them early, just to hand the keys back at the moment would be £17,000 and give them my car. That's the difference between what I owe on it and what the car is worth. It's not meant to be that way, but that's what's happened. So this bubble has burst. Obviously there was a bubble with lots of other cars too. I know it's happened with 911s.
Yeah.
But the Range Rover bubble seems to be about the worst one that I could have possibly been in. So my timing could not have been worse.
Yeah, well, people are really feeling it, aren't they? I mean, with a lot of people they just won't insure people in London on the newer Range Rovers. I had a quote. Yeah. Not I had a quote, but I heard of someone being quoted 20-something grand. I think it was for a new Defender.
At least he got a quote.
I know. Yeah, but that's ridiculous. I know.
At least he got a quote. I mean, yeah, it's useless, but if you had to maybe pay that for a month, whilst you're selling it or something.
Yeah, it's not.
But if they don't quote you anything, which is what I had for so long, then
what the hell do you do with it then?
I don't know. Well, this PCP is 48 months from when I bought it, so it's going to run out in 2026 September.
Right.
It's a long time away.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to keep it because I love the car. Problem is, if nobody will insure me anymore for a reasonable amount, or even a half reasonable amount, then I have no idea really. I'm just going to have to see what happens. But if it was just insurance that was high, I'd sell the car. But it's not just that. It's a big circle of insurance is high because they're being stolen all the time.
Yeah.
Nobody can get insured, so everyone's trying to sell them. Like desperation selling.
Yeah.
So the market's been flooded with them. There are too many for sale, and the price of this. I was offered trade-in 50 grand mid last summer, which is less than I wanted, but it was not far off what I thought it was worth.
Yeah.
Maybe a few grand off. The same dealer, which is one I bought it from, then offered me £37,500. So 12.5 grand less.
When was this?
3 months later. So it lost 12,500 in 3 months.
Bloody hell.
So
what did you, if you don't mind, what was the ballpark figure that you actually purchased this for a year and a half ago?
Oh no.
People want to know. It's educational.
I know. 69.
Okay.
Now, just to put it in context, I'm not a complete idiot. Okay, so I usually sort of sense check what a car is worth with We Buy Any Car. And when I bought it, We Buy Any Car thought it was worth 64. And you're always going to have a dealer trading margin, right? So I thought 5 grand, 69, 64, I'm paying the right price for the car, right? But what it was is just everything was so inflated. So I didn't overpay at the time, but what I didn't realise is that was quite such a bubble.
You weren't to know?
Nah.
Who was to know? I mean, I remember you telling me actually that you went on We Buy Any Car and you were like, oh, actually it's not bad. I was like, that's pretty good.
I bet I did tell you all about how clever I am.
And then
Or not.
recently, I think a month or two ago, you checked on We Buy Any Car again. What were they offering you?
I think it's been as low as 33,000.
That's what I thought.
It's disgusting.
So you've lost.
No,
we won't say the
not do the
figure,
maths.
but you guys can do the math.
So it's gone up from 33. It's now it keeps saying your price has gone up, your price has gone down. So it did recover from 33 to about 40, but it's still so much less than.
It did it? When was that recently?
Yeah. So they email me all the time. So I literally get an update on the value of my car from We Buy Any Car every couple of days.
Really? Every couple of days. as of the date of filming was the 16th. It's the 16th of February. So the fact that it's gone up is that's a good sign, actually. It was promising.
Yeah. The only way it's going to get back to anything reasonable, where I could maybe hand the keys back and kind of dust my hands with it, is if the security problem is solved.
Right.
And the security and the insurance problem, because they're interlinked.
Yeah.
But the funny thing was, when I bought it, there was a security problem, but there wasn't an insurance problem. So like the insurers hadn't really adjusted their prices in line with what was actually going on in terms of thefts.
Yeah.
It was just after that they did. So now they won't insure, or they put a ridiculous price on it. You know, what were you saying, 10, 20 grand a year?
Yeah, I mean...
And the car worth 40.
I know. I mean, I'm actually quite surprised what the insurance was when you first bought it. You say 3,500, was that right?
Yeah.
Which, before this whole thing came out, is still a hell of a lot of money.
Yeah.
I guess because you live in London. So they've never really been cheap to insure in London, that's for sure.
No,
anytime.
They've never been cheap.
Because of the theft reason, I suppose.
Yeah, but I mean, it hasn't. Nothing has got worse. In terms of the car security, hasn't got worse. I think thefts are actually down on these. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think they're like spiraling out of control from where they were when I bought it. It's taken a while for the insurers to sort of change their mind and things.
Yeah.
But the weird thing is, on the new ones, which you've got new security tech, and they're not being nicked.
The brand new ones.
Brand new ones.
Oh,
so the new Defender, new Range, and the new Range Sport. They've all got the new security, and they're not really being nicked. But the weird thing is, you can't insure them either. So it's like the whole brand has been tarnished with these age models, Discovery Sports and Range Sports, being stolen. Despite the fact that new ones aren't being stolen, you can't insure a new one. It's either really expensive or they won't quote you.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. But again, I had an order on a new one of these when the market was a totally different place. It wouldn't have never have happened.
I remember you saying,
Because also interest rates went crazy as well, which has made a big difference. But again, when I was looking at a new Defender, it was about $3,000. I was like, oh great. You know, it's similar to what this used to be.
Yeah.
I didn't buy it for various reasons, and now they are ludicrously expensive, or you can't insure them again.
I can't believe it. £8,000. Well, at least you have a quote, like you said. But I mean, most people are not going to spend £8,000. They're just going to be like, all right, get rid of the car. I buy a Porsche Cayenne or a Macan or something.
Porsche Cayenne, man.
Or
honestly,
X5, Q7. Yeah.
Their premiums are so much lower, and I'm sure they're harder to nick or whatever. But I don't know. It's bizarre. I've seen some quotes on quite expensive Cayennes, and they're really reasonable in this area in Southwest London. Yeah.
How much are we talking? Still like a couple of thousand?
1,500 quid.
Oh my
so like as much as a 25-year-old would pay on a Fiesta or whatever in London.
Bloody hell. Anyway, while you touched on the theft, you have a special box for your key, don't you?
I've got a Faraday
to stop the
box.
relay, right? Is that because so for everybody that doesn't know, the Range Rover system, because it's keyless entry, it's constantly, when you block it, park it outside your house, and then go in your house, the car and the key are constantly passing a signal to each other. So a lovely chap will come along with his little antenna or whatever the hell he has, and he'll walk around and find that signal, which will then open the car and he can start it, and that's how they get stolen. But you thankfully have what is it, like a little
they call it a Faraday box.
Faraday box.
Or you can get pouches as well that you can actually keep on your jacket or whatever, which is a good idea.
Very
but
cool.
I never actually used that. But yeah, it blocks the signal, which is one way that these can be stolen. But unfortunately, there's so many other ways.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen. There's one way which is particularly disturbing, where they literally cut a hole in the boot, and there's something in the boot that can allow you to sort of kickstart the car. So I have driven past Range Rovers with tape across like a 4-inch by 4-inch hole on their boot, and I was like, what's that? And then someone explained to me what it was. It's the people that are gaining entry and starting the engine this way. I guess they didn't get off with that particular car, but
And I notice that you always have a steering wheel lock. on.
yeah,
And I actually notice a lot of cars, not only Rangers, but pretty much every Range Rover I see that's parked up in London has a steering lock on it. You just have to have one, do you? Is that
you just be so stupid not to.
right?
It's the weird thing about them is there are some which are rubbish and some that are actually really good and would take someone quite a long time to get off or cut through.
Yeah.
But the insurance companies don't ask you, and it makes such a difference.
Oh, really?
Such a difference. But nobody asks, so it's the same premium whether you just park it and you don't have a tracker or a mobiliser or any of the stuff that someone sensible would have. They don't ask you.
Really? Did you have a mobiliser?
Yeah. I think it's got 2 immobilisers.
You have everything, man.
Trying
It's
to do
like
what we
Fort
can,
Knox.
man.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And the steering wheel lock, you got to get a good one. Disc Lock is the brand. The
Disc
others are not good from what I've seen.
Although I do remember one time, I think it was last year.
Okay.
One morning we went for breakfast. I think we were running late. We had wherever it was, and took us about 5 minutes to get this steering wheel lock off. But I think that was just a one-off. I don't know what happened that day. I think it was just jammed. But
It was jammed.
that is also a bit of a problem.
I reckon that was my fault, you know. I reckon I messed up the key in my pocket.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's easier to blame myself.
So don't mess up the key if you have one, because that can cost you time,
I don't
especially
know how
if
you
you're in a
mess
rush.
up a key, but I feel like it's my fault somehow. But yeah.
So you've owned the car for a year and a half, and you've done 5,000 miles, which is pretty low mileage, but
Yeah.
it's been a lot of city driving, right? You
Yeah.
haven't done many miles, it's all
Completely.
city driving. So, and in London it's like 20 mile an hour, which is probably a lot of wear and tear on a car if it's just city driving. So my question to you is, has it been reliable?